This election cycle has been cruel to those in the prediction business. The race is simply too volatile, the candidates are too unpredictable, the external circumstances are too bizarre. WikiLeaks collapsing at the 9/11 memorial? This stuff would be rejected as straining the bounds of credulity by any decent fiction editor, which means it's difficult not to fall into the trap of believing that the immediate is the permanent. So 6 weeks ago, conventional wisdom, and this was my opinion too, was Donald Trump was absolutely going to get crushed. After all, he had demonstrated no capacity to control himself. He'd appointing the alt-right pandering new head of Breitbart to his campaign. He was trailing by double digits in a bevy of swing states. Then WikiLeaks started dumping material, and Hillary continued to flail over her emails, and then she went completely absent from the campaign trail, and then she called half of Trump's supporters deplorables, and then she died on camera. And Trump, meanwhile, began using a teleprompter, and somebody changed his Twitter password, and they duct taped his mouth shut at headquarters, and everything looked better. Suddenly, Trump's got all the momentum, and he's got a bunch of positive polls to boot. We'll tell you about those in a little while. But while Trump recovered from his worst showing a few weeks back, there's a reason Hillary Clinton might not recover. She actually has to stop being Hillary Clinton. So Trump had to stop being Trump in order to gain in the polls. Hillary has to stop being Hillary in order to gain in the polls. But it was easier for Trump to stop being Trump. That's because Trump was defined in the public mind as a borderline nut job, a crazy guy willing to say or do anything, a wild man. To stop being Trump merely required him to start reading from a script. So, like Shia LaBeouf, he got on message during the filming and saved his actual cannibalism for the off hours. For Hillary, the problem runs deeper. People think she's corrupt and dishonest. Not crazy, corrupt and dishonest. That's mainly because she's corrupt and dishonest. To stop being Hillary, she has to stop being corrupt and dishonest. It's easier to feign sobriety and decency than it is to feign truthfulness. Even when Hillary tells the truth these days, it still sounds like she's lying, and there's no way for her to escape herself. This is the cruel reality of politics. Political standards operate exactly like personal standards. If you have a family member who's an alcoholic, homeless person, and if he dries out and goes to a halfway house, he's a success now to you. He's had a great week. If you have another relative who's a vice president at a bank, makes $1 million a year, and he blows 15 grand in Vegas, he's a giant failure that week. Objectively, the alcoholic ranks lower on the humans you'd trust with your children scale than the VP at Chase Manhattan probably, but you're holding them to different standards because this is what we all do. The same thing is true for Trump. If he acts like a rational human, he's won. But Hillary has to overcome her serious trust issues. And as Ted Cruz learned, it's really, really hard to shake the untrustworthy label once somebody has applied it, even if you're not actually untrustworthy. Which means that Hillary has a serious, lasting problem here. She can't just stop being Hillary. Trump could stop being Trump long enough, maybe, to make it to the White House. I'm Ben Shapiro. This is The Ben Shapiro Show. Okay, so first of all, we have a lot to get to today, like tons to get to today. We'll get to the mailbag later on in the show. We have an epic Stuff I Hate segment coming up, and we're going to talk about everything from Hillary's health records to Newt Gingrich saying some pretty ridiculous things on national TV. We'll get to all of that in just a moment. But first, we have to say hello to our friends over at thetracker.com. It's T-H-E, thetracker.com. So what does the tracker do? What the tracker does is you stick it to your keychain or you stick it to your wallet, and then you have a program on your phone that allows you to locate your keys and your wallet. And your phone, by the way, if you lose your phone, what the tracker does is you can actually activate the ringer on your phone. So even if you've turned off the ringer on your phone and you've lost your phone and you have a second cell phone, you want to call your phone, try and find out where it is, then you can use the tracker. It activates the ring on your phone so you can actually locate your phone, which is super cool. This is going to save me a lot of stress in my marriage personally, because I can tell you that every single morning I get up and I'm searching around in the dark for my keys, wallet, and phone, literally every morning. And not a day goes by in my life personally in which my wife does not lose her phone and panic until she finds it in her back pocket. This literally happens every single day. So Tracker is I got a Hillary problem here. Tracker is actually going to save our marriage, I think. It's thetracker.com. And use the promo code Ben. You get 30% off your entire order. Again, that's thetracker.com right now. And you enter promo code Ben, 30% off your entire order. It's a coin-sized device. You can see it right here. It's as big as a quarter. And it works wonders. It's a really fantastic product, and we're happy to have them as advertisers. Make sure you use the promo code Ben so that they know that we sent you. Okay, so lots to get to today. So I want to start off with continuing questions about Hillary's health. So Hillary finally releases a letter from her physician. By the way, Harambe has also released a letter from his physician, says that Harambe had a head cold and got a shot. But in any case, Hillary has released a letter now, and this letter is from her doctor, Lisa Bardak, who's the diplomat of the American Board of Internal Medicine and the chair of internal medicine at Caramount Medical. And they basically say she's fine. That's what it boils down to. The letter itself says, she's been seen by me regularly this year for routine care. It really only goes back to July 2015. So it doesn't tell you what happened before July 2015. She could have lost a leg in a tragic cotton gin accident. It wouldn't be in this letter. But what the letter says is that she has recurrent blood testing for Coumadin dosing and adjustments. That's stuff that's a blood thinner, basically, to prevent blood clots, because remember, she had the blood clot in her brain a little while ago. She says her blood levels have been relatively stable, which is a little vague. She's also had several allergy flares over the past year, which has been a typical pattern most of her life. In consultation with her allergist, she responded well to her medication adjustments. They say that in January, she developed sinusitis and an ear infection. She was treated with antibiotics and steroids. She had to be given I guess they call it a myringotomy tube placed in her left ear in January 2016. No big deal. They say no abnormalities. And then they say that on September 2nd, they diagnosed her with pneumonia, but it was a low-grade pneumonia. They called it a mild, non-contagious bacterial pneumonia. And then she became overheated and dehydrated, and she felt dizzy, and she fell over. That's the story from Hillary's physician. Now, there are two questions here. One is, do you believe this? Do you believe this? And that's an open question. You can believe it. You cannot believe it. I tend to believe it just because I don't think doctors, my wife is a doctor, I don't think doctors make a habit of lying about their patients' medical conditions publicly. Like, the doctor looks pretty bad if 2 weeks from now Hillary slumps over because it turns out that she had the Black Plague and she's infected half the population of the United States before Randall Flagg shows up. Like, I just don't think that that's how this is going to work. So I tend to believe what's in here, which means, and this is the part about Hillary that's so incredible, and it's why she has a serious problem in this election. It means that Hillary actually was not lying, right? When Hillary said it was allergies and she was coughing her lungs up, the doctor says that was basically right. When she says she had pneumonia, yeah, she didn't reveal that on Friday, but she did have pneumonia, so she wasn't fibbing about that. When she said it was overheat and dehydration, her doctor says that was true too. So now it's on the doctor. It's not just Hillary's credibility, it's the doctor's credibility. But even when Hillary tells the truth now, it sounds like she's lying because she's constantly covering up for things, constantly acting as though nothing bad is happening, constantly acting as though she's totally fine all the time. And this creates a massive opening for Donald Trump. So CNN's Sanjay Gupta, he said, Hillary released this health document. This is not technically a release of medical records.
But again, this is certainly not a release of medical records by any means. This is very similar in some ways to what we got July of last year. There may be more coming. It's a little bit unclear, but those are sort of the highlights, Jake.
And so he says it's not, and it's true, it's not full medical records. So Donald Trump does something smart. Donald Trump goes on Dr. Oz's show, and he releases his records on Dr. Oz. So there was a lot of confusion yesterday. He said he wasn't going to release his records on Dr. Oz. At first, he had said he was going to hand the records over to Dr. Oz, and then Dr. Oz would reveal them to him, Maury Povich style, and presumably some snaggletooth woman would walk out of the back because it was a paternity test too. But instead, what ends up happening is what you see here.
If your health is as strong as it seems from your review of systems, why not share your medical records? Why not?
Well, I have really no problem in doing it. I have it right here. I mean, should I do it? I don't care. Should I
do it? Yeah, let's do it, gang. Woo!
It's two letters. One is the report, and the other is from Lenox Hill Hospital.
May I see them?
Saying, yeah, sure.
So these are the report.
Those were all the tests that were just done.
Okay, and then he goes through it and he says basically you're normal. Trump says he's, I guess, 236 pounds. He's slightly overweight. They say that he's on some medication for his cholesterol, which is normal for people who are 70. His blood pressure is fine. He said that he feels like he's 35, and when he golfs with Tom Brady, he feels like he's just slightly older than Tom Brady, which is delusional. But in any case, what he says is, so this is good TV, and it looks like he's being much more transparent than Hillary, who's releasing these letters. What Hillary should have done is gone on TV to release the letters the same way that Trump did. Trump understands how TV works. Hillary doesn't. Trump appears honest. Hillary does not. So Trump was at a rally yesterday, and Trump really is now. And here's where Trump almost can't help himself. This actually is a bit of a boo-boo by Trump. Trump, in the middle of his campaign speech, he goes off teleprompter and he starts actually ripping on Hillary's health as opposed to her dishonesty after giving what looks like a bizarre come hither look to the audience.
You think this is easy? Oh, you think this is so easy? In this beautiful room that's 122 degrees? It is hot, and it's always hot when I perform because the crowds are so big. These rooms were not designed for this kind of a crowd. I don't know, folks. You think Hillary would be able to stand up here for an hour and do this? I don't think so.
It's a comedy shtick. It's a roast, and Trump treats it like a roast. The reason I say that this is silly is because she just released her medical records. He should be doing the routine. You know, whatever she says her health is, I'm sure that's what her health is, but she's been dishonest in the past, and her dishonesty makes people not trust her. That's really what he should be saying. But, you know, I also think that it's noteworthy that he says, whenever I get up here and I perform, he's a presidential candidate, not a performer, but he still thinks of himself as a performer. Okay, but needless to say, Hillary has some serious problems. Everyone thinks she's lying about everything, to the point where Hillary was on TV yesterday, and she said she was transparent, and literally everyone in the room started laughing.
I've worked very, very hard to be more transparent than not just my opponent, but really in a comparison to anybody who's run. You know, the medical information I've put out, and we're going to put out more, meets and exceeds the standards that other presidential candidates, including President Obama and, you know, Mitt Romney and others, have met.
Okay, and here's the problem for Hillary. She might actually not be lying here, but she's always lying, so we have to assume she's lying. Somebody today said to me that maybe what we should do is we should put both of these candidates on a lie detector and find out who's lying more often. I said the problem for Hillary is that in order for a lie detector test to actually work, there has to be a baseline, right? They have to be able to test the lies against something. So if you lie 100% of the time, there's nothing to test it against. It comes across as truth, right? If I ask you your name and you just lie about your name and that's the baseline, then everything else that you say that's a lie also looks like the truth. This is the problem for Hillary. The media have not helped Hillary in this respect. By attempting to quash questions about Hillary's health instead of asking questions about Hillary's health, they've put themselves in a position of now covering for Hillary. Adam Carolla is friends with Dr. Drew. I think Dr. Drew is kind of a schmuck, but Adam Carolla is friends with Dr. Drew, and they do a show together, and apparently Dr. Drew said to Adam Carolla directly that he won't talk about Hillary's health anymore because he's afraid there will be career ramifications from the mainstream media for even mentioning it.
With all this Hillary Clinton and all the pneumonia and all this stuff, I thought, well, let's get Drew to call in and just tell us how pneumonia works, what we should be looking out for. In Drew's mind, he cannot come on this podcast and speak about Hillary Clinton. I said, just come on and talk about pneumonia. We'll just talk about pneumonia, and then we'll do the Hillary Clinton math. No. Got a couple of deals brewing, and he does not want to risk those deals.
Okay, so that fact right there, the idea that Dr. Drew won't go on Adam Carolla's show and even talk about Hillary's health for fear of the backlash, that's pretty amazing stuff. Because, I mean, let's be real. There are lots of TV doctors who speculate about the health of public figures on a pretty regular basis. It also doesn't help when you've got Bill Clinton out there screwing up your health diagnosis every 5 seconds. Now, here's the thing. Bill Clinton probably knows about as much about Hillary's health as I do, because Bill probably talks to her about as often as I do. I mean, Bill has other priorities. He's got other ladies that he likes to talk to, or not talk to, as the case may be, other receptacles, other human humidors that he is more interested in chatting with. But Bill yesterday, he goes out there and he says, Hillary just has the flu. We thought she had pneumonia, but he says the flu, right?
It's a crazy time we live in, you know, when people think there's something unusual about getting the flu. Last time I checked, millions of people were getting it every year.
I don't know what happened to Bill Clinton. He looks like such a creeper now. He legitimately looks like the child molester from Family Guy. I mean, he's he's the kind of, like, really, I don't know how else to describe him here. That's what he looks like. But he says the flu, and then everybody goes, wait, but she said she had pneumonia, so who's telling the truth? And then they say, oh, Bill Clinton made a mistake, but he's her husband. Shouldn't he know that? He shouldn't know that. They haven't been in the same 30-mile proximity since the convention when he just stared at the giant balloons coming from the sky and thought about Dolly Parton. Bill went on to also cover up, Hillary's email scandal. Again, the lack of honesty on the part of the Clintons is so astounding that even when Hillary is telling the truth, even if her doctor is telling the truth about her health, there's no way for anybody to tell that.
After all the hullabaloo over this email deal, it was for a year we were told this is the biggest problem since the end of World War II. Right? Oh. Finally, the Washington Post, their everlasting credit, say, I think we've had about enough of this.
Okay, so but we haven't had enough of this. So again, they're covering up everything. And the Clinton Foundation is doing the same thing. The head of the Clinton Foundation, Donna Shalala, was on TV yesterday, and she was saying there was no impact that the Clinton Foundation was working hand in glove with the State Department in corrupt fashion. No one believes this. No one believes what the Clinton Foundation president's about to tell you.
But I mean, with all respect, how can you dispute that the lines were crossed? We have evidence of it from the emails.
No, there's no evidence that policy was impacted by anyone's requesting an appointment. So let me dispute any indication that Mrs. Clinton's behavior on policy was changed in any way. The most important thing is this is a magnificent foundation that has reinvented philanthropy from Malawi to Haiti to Cartagena. We're doing spectacular work, and we have to make sure that that work continues, but not under the Clinton Foundation's umbrella.
If you lie this much, if you're constantly lying, no one's going to trust you even when you tell the truth. It's the boy who cried wolf. You lie this much, no one is going to believe you when the wolf is finally there. But when you tell the truth, when it turns out you actually did have pneumonia and it was just an allergy, then no one's going to believe you. And still people don't believe you, and the polls show that today. The polls, by the way, for Hillary Clinton are devastating. I mean, she is now hitting the panic button somewhere. Joe Biden is just sitting in a corner crying to himself. Because if you were running, do you understand? I think it's important people understand this. Donald Trump is not soaring in the polls. He's at 42% against Hillary Clinton in the New York Times poll, which means they're tied. Okay, that's how bad Hillary Clinton is at this. Hillary Clinton is legitimately the worst candidate in American political history. She's going to lose to Donald Trump. Okay, I could find small children who could beat Donald Trump in an election, and it would not be hard for me to do it. I could find farm animals who would beat Donald Trump in an election. Diseased farm animals who would likely beat Donald Trump in an election. Hillary Clinton is going to lose to him because she's so terrible at all of this, which frankly to me is hilarious because she deserves all that. I mean, she just, as you know, I am not a Donald Trump fan. We'll talk about that in a little while here. But that said, there will be something sweet and wonderful about Hillary lusting her entire life after the highest office in the land, only to fall short to a TV orange con man. This woman who's built her entire life around politics, schlonged out of it by a guy who decided to get into politics almost legitimately a minute and 45 seconds ago. I do love it. I do love it. Okay, we have to take a quick break for U.S. Tax Shield. So, folks, if you have problems with the IRS, if you have failed to pay back taxes, if you've forgotten to pay, if you've miscalculated, or maybe you're just a bad actor and you didn't pay your taxes, now is the time to fix that. You don't want to let the IRS rack that up on you, particularly as the political process moves forward. The IRS is politicized. You want to talk to them now, get this stuff settled right now. Go to U.S. Tax Shield. They have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, and they help people with personal tax liabilities, business payroll taxes, fees, penalties. When you call what you call them for a free consultation, and they actually will conference call with the IRS and find out how much money you owe, then they'll actually give you a quote on the phone, and they will tell you on the phone specifically what the amount you're going to be charged will be. And at that point, that quote never changes. They have a Fresh Start program. It helps you come clean with the IRS and settle your debt in a short period of time. You can call them right now for a free consultation at 800-542-2226. 800-542-2226. You can visit ustaxshield.com/Ben. That's ustaxshield.com/Ben. Make sure that you use the /Ben because that means that they know that we sent you, and then they'll continue to advertise with us and make sure that you can watch this show and enrich your life. So one quick note before we have to run here. So again, Hillary Clinton's dishonesty is so wild here that that nothing she says can be believed, and it's almost impossible to overcome that. It's really difficult for a candidate to overcome that in any serious way, which means that now Hillary has to wait for Trump to fail. Trump has to avoid the big boo-boo. If Trump can avoid the big boo-boo, he definitely has the advantage. He definitely has a major advantage if he can avoid the big boo-boo. And Trump is starting to look better, right? Trump is, when he's on teleprompter, as I said, all we need from Trump is to be Shia LaBeouf when he's reading from the script, not Shia LaBeouf when he's being thrown out of a Broadway musical for trying to eat the flesh off another human being. So if Trump can do that, if he can just stick to teleprompters, yesterday, for example, he drops this great line about Flint, Michigan. Do we have this Trump line from Flint? This clip 10.
It used to be, think of this, is this true? It used to be cars were made in Flint and you couldn't drink the water in Mexico. Now, the cars are made in Mexico and you can't drink the water in Flint.
Great line. Right, it's a great line. It's a pre-written line. It's a great line. I love that when Trump does the comedian shtick, where he turns around, starts signaling to the audience, "Yeah, isn't that a great joke? Come on!" This is good stuff. This is good stuff, and this is why Trump. The polls right now Trump is now neck and neck in Virginia, which has to scare the living crap out of Hillary. She just pulled all of her resources from Virginia because she figured she had it won. He's running neck and neck in Colorado. That's a disaster for her. He's running ahead in Ohio. He's running ahead in Florida. He's running up ahead by 8 in Iowa. He's running ahead in Nevada by a couple of points. He's running ahead in Arizona. He's running a little ahead in North Carolina. Folks, if he wins that many states, he wins the election. We're talking about President Donald Trump. We're there, gang. I mean, we really are. That's how close this thing is. We'll talk more about that, and we'll talk about the dangers and what this involves when we continue. And you can watch us on Daily Wire to watch that. DailyWire.com. $8 a month means you become a subscriber, and subscribers get to write in to the Vaunted Ben Shapiro Show mailbag, which we will be doing absolutely shortly. Plus, you can continue to watch this thing live. You don't have to wait for us to release the audio later on iTunes or SoundCloud. You don't have to be plunged into the black hole of failure. You go to DailyWire.com, subscribe right now, and become part of the Daily Wire team, and we'll be glad to see you there in 30 seconds.